Good morning. Somebody asked me today whether contract marriage is allowed in Nigeria. I replied to him, asking him to explain what he meant by contract marriage. Because marriages are basically contractual in nature. By this I mean that marriages require the consent of two adults who agree to come together and pursue the cause of marriage. But marriage is a special sort of contract because you are not really allowed to say or do anything you want in it. There must be a limited or certain contents of that contract. What the Marriage Act has done in Nigeria and in other countries where you have laws, statutes governing marriages, is to specify the content of the union or the union between husband and wife. Those things cannot be taken out. For instance, certain rights of a wife cannot be waived by consent of the wife, and certain obligations cannot be assumed just because people consented to it. So it is a standard form contract, you may say. Standard in the sense that your marital union must contain certain things. The parental rights of the couple are statutory based, and other things that you may have in a marriage. However, it is possible to deviate to a certain degree in terms of what these rights embody. For instance, property rights attached to marriages could be modified or clarified by a contract outside the Marriage Act itself. For instance, you may reach an agreement with your spouse regarding what will happen in the event of dissolution of the marriage. You can reach agreement regarding property distributions, regarding a share of property. For instance, you can get your wife or your husband to agree that in the event of dissolution, she's entitled to just this amount of compensation of property. We call these things prenuptial agreements. Yes, they are valid. I think the laws in Nigeria will allow you to make certain deviation, but be careful. It must be fair. Whatever private arrangement you make must be fair. It must be just. So if you get a woman to waive all her rights, all rights that a human being should have, or waive the right of access to her children, the court may disagree, especially because the court has to consider not just the interest of the man and the woman that entered into the contract, but the interest of the children of the marriage. So contract marriage is possible if by that you mean whether parties to a marriage can stipulate to certain terms and conditions that are outside the Marriage Act or the marriage laws. Yes, it is possible. But it is something you have to approach very delicately because the law is interested in a number of other things. As you know, your marriage is not just about you and your wife. The state is interested in your marriage. Also, there is a third party, the children of the marriage. The involvement of the state and the children in your marriage may affect the scope to which you could deviate from the standard terms and conditions that are embodied in the marriage laws. But it's worth trying. A number of things could actually be ironed out if the parties agree. For instance, if you tell your wife before marriage or your fiancé that you don't like certain behavior and that you will consider such behavior extreme and the basis to break the marriage, now, this is what happens. that doesn't mean you have changed the statutory grounds for divorce. That doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean you can come to the court and say, my Lord, I have a new ground for divorce outside what the law stipulated or the law provided for. And this new ground is the one I and my wife agreed privately that if it happens, it's the basis for divorce. The court will not agree. The court will not allow you to amend the law. However, the court will find that the violation of that agreement indicates a basis for separation, a basis for one to conclude that the parties are no longer getting along. So it's something you have to be very careful about. You can have these agreements up front, but be careful. Do not push it to the point of altering the law or achieving a situation of unfairness or unjust outcome, or doing things that will hurt the interests of other parties, affected parties, such as the state. There is public policy, and the state is going to try to do things to protect the public policy in a matter. And also there is the interest of children of that marriage, which the court is bound to take into consideration in reaching any outcome. That's it.